What's going on, Jack Bates fans? Welcome to yet another edition of JaKKed Live. I hope everybody's having a great afternoon, great evening tonight. Hope you guys are having a great week. I know we are here at JaKKed. We're getting ready to head out to the Nashville Fishing Expo there in Nashville or Lebanon, Tennessee. So if you guys are around that area, make sure you guys stop by. For all those of you guys watching the replay here, please make sure to go ahead and invite your friends to watch this as well. And we'll be getting it kicked off here in just a moment. But the Nashville Fishing Expo, we will be there all weekend long, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're in Lebanon, Tennessee. Come by, check it out. Send some friends up there that you know that maybe are in the area, and would love to meet them and hang out with them as well, and definitely get some awesome baits and all that good stuff. Chase, if you're on here, buddy, make sure you're on your phone. I'm trying to do this, not a computer. Forgot to mention that earlier, but hopefully we'll get you in here. Oops. We went dark here. Can you guys see me still? If you can, hit the thumbs up a bunch of times or something. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I'm back. I don't know what happened there. My power went out. Sorry about that, guys. I switched the camera on accident somehow. But anyway, what's up, Mr. Chase?
What's going on, man? How are you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How are you?
Oh, just chilling out. And I figured I'd bring my little brother. He's fishing on the Clover High School team. He's going to be with me tonight, too.
There you go. What's up, little man?
What's going on?
Well, I hadn't seen you in a while.
Not much.
I've been telling him he needs to cut that hair of his so he'd look like a fisherman.
I know, right? He looks like, I don't know. I guess Seth Fighter's doing it, so if he can do it, you can too, huh? Is that what you're going for?
A little bit, maybe.
A little bit. That's right. Well, I guess if he's fishing the elites with long hair, might as well try it, huh? Cool, guys. Well, welcome to JaKKed Live. Guys, I want to introduce you to Chase and Chase Kanute. I'm sorry, not Chris, it's Daddy. Justin Kanute. Sorry about that. They are two boys that used to live in Alabama, moved to South Carolina, fishing college, high school stuff. So we want to welcome them to the show, and they are fishing high school and college now. So feel free to ask some questions if you guys have anything about either one of those two. But we'll get started here and get this party rolling. If you guys haven't shared it down below, make sure you guys do that while we're getting in here. So what's been going on, man? You just got back from Okeechobee. How was that?
Man, just trying to recover a little bit. Didn't have the best of the finish in the world. I finished 87th, and of course I'm fishing as a co-angler, so don't necessarily get an option of running the front of the boat. But
Sure.
I mean, it was a fun experience for sure. I learned a lot. Actually, I've never been to Okeechobee. I've been to the St. Johns River. Didn't too good down there, so definitely with going to Okeechobee, I did learn a lot. It's definitely an African safari, I can tell you that. All the different grasses, and there's some pigs down there. I did see a lot of big fish in practice. Caught some good fish in practice. It was more or less just trying to find areas, of course, because I mean that lake's so big and about 20% of it hold fish. So it was fun. I'll tell you some of the key baits I definitely threw were the swim jig, chatterbait, and flipping, of course, stuff like that, which throwing braid isn't my best strength, but I can definitely do it. So
Sure.
It was definitely.
Yeah, you mentioned the 20% of the lake holding fish, man. It seems like every time they go down there, they're talking about the usual suspects, South Bay and Monkey Box and a bunch of those areas. Why do you think, just being down there, I've never been there, so I don't know, but why do you think that is, that there's only a certain few areas that really seem to produce? Not to say that those are the only places catching, holding fish, but that's definitely the ones that you hear about most often.
Well, I'll tell you, dude, one of the biggest things is the wind down there. You definitely, with going into pre-practice, you want to practice according to the wind schedules in the tournament because the wind down there, so the 20%, the areas that you catch fish, you're looking for clear water, of course. Clear water down there is a huge thing, areas that have hydrilla. So the wind, what will happen is, whichever way the wind's blowing, usually that into the lake, that's going to be a muddy into the lake, the direction it's blowing in. So you want to try to get in areas that have clean water. That, and the certain types of grasses that are in those areas, I really, that just the wind. The wind is one of the biggest factors. Whichever way the wind blows is how it goes.
Gotcha. So walk us through a few of the baits that worked for you. I know you mentioned some of them, but was there specific colors that worked out better for you, or?
Well, of course, everybody knows down there's a famous color called Okeechobee Crawl. I definitely started there with being the first time going down there.
Yep.
But black and blue swim jig, which is a swim jig by JaKKed, of course. June bug trailer, that was a key bait. A little secret I have with a chatterbait here is throwing a D-bomb, and I rig it like a single swim bait. That was definitely a key deal there. And then, so finding holes in pads or any kind of grass you were fishing, that usually was a general location of a bed. And being a co-angler, so I was flipping a D-bomb. And those were the three baits that caught most of my fish going into the tournament.
Gotcha.
So,
how were the boaters that you had both days, I guess? Pretty good guys and fun to fish with and whatnot?
Oh, definitely. Me and Justin Atkins had a great time. Covered a lot of water, but they were basically same deal, swim jigs, flipping. Also Cinco, a Texas Rig Cinco, that was a good deal. And basically, sticking to the color spectrum of black and blues, Okeechobee Crawl. Those were the ways to go during the tournament.
Sure. So you guys moved from Alabama. How are you liking it out there?
It's definitely different because up here we got blueback herring, and you have to chase them jokers all year round.
Is that right?
So it's definitely it's been different, coming from Alabama, I consider myself a very versatile angler. He can say the same thing about himself. You've got the Coosa River, the Tennessee River, you've got deep Clear Lake impoundment. So moving up here, we're very versatile as it is. So it was kind of hard to adapt, but I fished the BFLs as a boater last year. I felt like I stood my ground. Didn't really place bad, but I stood my ground, just learning to chase those herring. That was kind of difficult for me, but once I figured it out, it's been pretty much easy from there.
Yeah. So how about you doing the high school stuff? How's that all going out there?
It's going pretty good. It's just adapting to the lakes up here, getting to know them, and we've had a pretty good finish. Also making nationals last year. Had a pretty fun year last year. But now that we know the lakes and getting to know them even more now, it should be a fun experience. And hopefully, I can get back to nationals with it.
And he's also sitting right now on the Palmetto Boat Center High School Trail. He's sitting, I think, third in the points?
Nice.
Fourth out of all of them. So
good stuff. Good stuff. Well, that's exciting. So what lake are you guys closest to right now?
We actually live on the banks of Lake Wiley.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, that lake is the biggest booger, too, in the world. Just trying to figure that one out. Living on a lake, and I did struggle there for a while, but then finally putting my time in on the water, coming in from work and going out. I finished third in the BFL and finished 26th in the 2-day super tournament here. So
there you go.
But it's
yeah. What? How's that lake set up for you?
Man, it's a different animal from actually all the lakes I think I've ever fished. One day you can go out and you can catch 100 fish. The next day you go out and, you can catch nothing. The biggest deal with it here is chasing. So this lake actually doesn't have blueback herring. It's just shad. And so learning to chase the shad, and also another thing that'll throw you off is there's a lot of white perch in this lake. So you're thinking you're pulling up on a mega load of shad and bass, and next thing you know, you're catching 100, 200, 300 white perch. So
there you go. I gotcha. Yeah. So for those of us that aren't from that East Coast over there, walk us through a little bit of how you target some of those herring.
So, of course, I'm sure all y'all watched Forest Wood Cup, and Justin actually won it, over cane piles. I can tell you the biggest thing to do is to get out. Shoot, the best way to find them is go find your best point or something like that and just stop and look out across the lake, or, go to some of your best areas, stop, look across the lake. And if you see any kind of schooling activity, that's usually a good indication that there's going to be some kind of brush or something something that holds the heron, which is naturally those cane piles. So, locating them is the key. So just go out. How I like to locate them is I start my mornings, I go out, I'll shut the motor off, and I just look. Once you find some kind of activity on the surface, which of course you might see 4 and 5 pounders blowing up, which is always a good sign. But then once you locate areas where they're at, then just idle around that area, idle the points, any kind of high spots on a ledge or something like that. Idle those, find the cane, and once you find the cane, it's game on.
So are those, is that cane, are those man-made structures, or is that?
I'm going to tell you, it's kind of crazy. The way I have of course, I'm a Lowrance guru. I love using my Lowrance units. Once you dial in your Lowrances, you can actually see, if you have them dialed in on side scan and down scan, however you want to run it, you can actually see where they were poured in a 5-gallon bucket. And you can see the bucket, and then you can see the cane coming up off of the 5-gallon bucket.
Okay.
The quick, of course.
Sure.
And so, but it can be hard to find at times because, it's really hard to pick that up because they are so small. You think of cane when you pass it on the highways and stuff. It's just a little stalk.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then also another deal on Hartwell is getting over the flooded timber, of course. There's a lot of flooded timber on Hartwell. And just locating the shad, or locating the heron, is the biggest deal.
Gotcha, man. Getting a bunch of your friends over here giving you heck. They're Macon says, "Who's that girl beside you?"
I'm telling you, he cut his hair.
He cut it off, huh? And then who else said something like that? Let's see, Zane Loveday said the exact same thing. And then John Cox told you to sit still, Chase.
Oh.
Bounce it around. No, you're all good.
That's just my personality.
I know you're everywhere.
90 to nothing. I can't sit still. It's the same way when I'm fishing on the front deck of the boat. I'm always everywhere.
That's right. So you guys teamed up lately and got out on the lake together and fished some buddy tournaments, or do you guys not do that too much?
I don't fish with this kid.
Why not?
We're two totally different on the animals on the front of the boat.
He knows I'd whoop him.
Yeah. Growing up, I guess you could say we got taught two different styles, plus we're brothers, so we can't ever get along.
Sure.
So, but growing up, of course, my dad taught us both how to fish. We've been fishing with him since we were little. But he's more slow. He likes to soak a bait and take his time, and I'm more like I'll run down a bank 90 to nothing and just catch the active fish. But they like to just sit around and take their time.
Yeah, that doesn't work too well together, that's for sure. So I understand. You'd be trying to drag your worm around or drag something around back there, and that boat's going by, and you won't even hit the bottom, huh?
Sometimes is.
So
my dad will fuss at me. Me and my dad will be fishing a tournament together, and he's like, "Son, you need to slow down." And I'm always looking ahead, looking at the next cast. So
that's right. So I know what your favorite style of fishing is, but what's your favorite style, Kanute?
My favorite style of fishing would have to be a drop shot.
Okay.
He likes to catch small fish.
Catch small fish? Oh, a drop shot catches big fish. Aaron Martins wouldn't be where he is if it didn't catch big fish.
Yeah, but he always. Oh, wait, that's kind of rude. I don't need to say that.
Always finish the second. Yeah, you read my mind there, but no. Yeah, you can catch some big ones on it. You know that.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a bait. When you get in trouble, same way as a Carolina rig, it'll catch you a limit.
So talk to us about a drop shot. Do you do anything different with it, or is it pretty much just tie it on and throw it out?
Well, for me, it's just the main part. I don't like my personal perspective is I don't like casting it. I like seeing them on the graph and drop shot and then watch them follow it down, and then you can easily time it up. Because I remember one year on Hartwell, we were on a point, and I was on them. I was chasing them, and I'd drop down, I'd catch one, and we'd always have 2 or 3 drop shots rigged up for me. So I'd get that one in the boat, sit the rod down, pick up the next one, catch another one, put the rod down, catch another one. The next one to be ready to go. Just put the worm back on, drop shot it back down, and start catching like crazy.
Just ask him who taught you drop shot first things first.
Who taught you how to drop shot? Your brother?
He taught me a lot of things. He's taught me how to soak a jig here lately. He's taught me how to throw a lot of things, and it paid off at nationals. I finished 7th this year, because we were pretty much throwing football head jigs, Carolina rigs, and I kept a jig in my hand because I've had somebody teach me how to do it, and it was one of my main baits that I could throw, and I was catching fish off of.
I hear you. I hear you. So what color, you throw a worm on that drop shot mostly, or you throwing something else?
A robo worm.
Robo worm. Aaron Martin style. What color?
Sometimes we throw Midnight Magic. Sometimes we throw the pink. It just depends.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, good stuff, man. Well, you talk about soaking a jig. I don't think that's what you're doing with a dock rock, but you told me earlier that's one of your favorite techniques. So what is it about throwing that bait that's really made some money for you and things like that?
It's just, I mean, it's hard to explain. I throw a jig several different ways. When it comes to that dock rock, of course, I'll swim it, pitching it under docks. I let the fish tell me what they want. I mean, going out, of course, pre-practicing for a tournament. Of course, I mean, I will soak the dock rock, but a way I like to fish it, I always like to keep it moving. I rig it with if I had one, I'd show y'all. Just a simple Fat Albert. I throw a green pumpkin Fat Albert on the back of it, or whatever color I'm throwing, whatever the water conditions are. But a very slow retrieve, and then, I mean, anytime that jig bumps anything, I give it a slot, just pop, let it fall back down, let it sit there for a second. And most of my bites are reaction bites. That's how I catch a lot of my fish on the dock rock. Then I'm skipping docks, of course, let it fall to the bottom, but I'm always keeping that jig moving. I never just let it sit unless they tell me they want it sitting. But a lot of the times I'm always keeping the dock rock moving.
Sure. So I guess probably not this time of the year, but when you do get into that dock rock fishing that, what kind of banks are you looking at? Walk some people through dock fishing in general, because there's a lot more to it. I mean, we got Lake of the Ozarks up here, and people will go out and they're like, oh yeah, go fish docks. Well, there's 100,000 docks on the lake, or 10,000. I don't know how many thousands of docks are on the lake, but what is it about a dock that you can pick it apart or figure out what you want to fish?
Well, it depends on what lake you're on. I mean, you have a lot of lakes. They've got the standard wooden docks with poles that go all the way down. You've got black floating docks. So when I start out, depending on what lake I'm on, like Smith Lake, they have a lot of black floating docks. So figuring out so that it can be as far as which side the sun's hitting, which is the hottest, of course, when it's colder in this colder weather, which side the sun's on. Usually when I start a tournament, depending on, like I said, what lake I'm on, if it's wooden docks, what the bank shows me, whether it's natural rock or if it's riprap. Also, what I like to do is if I'm fishing a lake that's got a lot of docks, I won't even make a cast at a dock. I'll just idle down the sides of the docks with my side scan and find the ones with brush piles up under them. That's one of my techniques I like to do. And then once I find a brush pile, I fish the brush pile. There's fish on brush piles, so then I just won't make a cast until I see the brush under the docks. But like I said, and also letting the bottom tell me what it is. If there's grass under those or around those docks, I know at Gunnersville, I like to find eelgrass around docks. Not milfoil or hydrilla, I like finding eelgrass. It's just stuff like that. Also, like I said, the natural rock here on Wiley, it's kind of a little deal we have going on. Is just looking for that natural rock, that natural hard bottom, which fish like to hold to.
Sure. Well, what color jig is kind of your go-to right off?
You're going to frown upon me because I do not know the color right off my
That's
head.
all right.
But I think, what is it, green pimpkin?
Just pimpkin, yeah.
Yeah, pimpkin's one of my favorite. And the one, it's like brown and green, and it's got kind of like the camo pattern deal, I guess. I'm trying to think of what color that is. It's brown and green.
Camo craw?
I think that's it. Camo,
yeah.
Camo craw, and then the pimpkin craw. And like I said, watercolor is one of the biggest deals, too.
Sure.
You'd think jig being a crawfish, but I stick to the green pumpkins. I mean, every now and then I'll dye the tips of my trailers in orange, just if I really know they're feeding on crawfish. But
sure, I'm with you.
About it.
So let's switch gears a little bit. You guys both you're currently fishing the high school stuff, but you fished the high school stuff before, Chase. So talk to us a little bit about that, some of the benefits and some of the perks to that, as well as just kind of what you guys have learned in the short amount of time you guys have been fishing high school stuff.
Oh, me. I mean, that's a very big.
I understand. I'm leaving that wide open for you. Talk to me about high school fishing. Let's put it that way.
Oh goodness. I mean, it's a very fun deal. You get to meet a lot of people, and I mean now high school's getting so big. I mean, from the time I was in it to now he's in it. I mean, the fields are just getting larger and larger. People are showing so much interest in it. But the biggest thing I got out of high school was, which is my dad and Taylor's dad, which was my old partner Taylor Ashley, who's now
Yep.
on the FLW Tour boater. They would allow us to go practice by ourselves. And as we got older toward our junior and senior year, they would put the decisions on us versus it being them. And, the biggest thing I can say to high schoolers today is, take your first couple years, and learn from that. And as you get older, start making decisions upon yourself, because then it not only does that help you then, it'll help you once you make the next step to college, if you do go to college, and so on. So, and like I said, you make a ton of friends. I mean, I know people from all over the state. John Cox, Taylor Cox, Zane, which I mean, me and him fish world finals. He was also in the same state. But you just meet so many people, so many
Okay.
people. And if
Uh,
you want to,
yeah, absolutely. Go for it, brother.
Chase pretty much summed it up. You meet a lot of people. You meet a lot of people that love what you love to do. So it's all pretty much fun. The main thing I get out of it is it's really competitive now. I remember the biggest tournament I fished was, I think it was like a 400 boat tournament. And it just keeps growing and growing. And so it shows you how you got to have your mindset to it to do better. And like he said, they would have to put decisions on them. My dad got me a little boat out there with no grass on it. And he said, go find your own fish. He said, this is how you're going to learn how to find your fish now. He said, sooner or later, you're going to have to make your decisions.
Yeah.
So,
I mean that, and then another thing too is it just adds a competitive edge. I mean, football, baseball, those sports. Some of those sports aren't for everybody, and I mean, you've got these kids that they do like to fish, and it just gives them an opportunity to be a part of their school, have their own team, and have a place. I guess you can say it also adds that to it.
Absolutely. So traveling around. Oh, we got a question here from Mr. Kevin Franklin. He says, "Who's the better angler, Chase Kanute or Taylor Cox?"
Oh, well, I have to admit she has beat me the one time we went fishing together, so I really can't talk trash now, but hopefully that'll change in the future.
She seems to agree. She says, "Me, duh." So, and Scott says Justin's the best anyway. So,
he knows what's right.
He did beat me. So when it was my senior year, we our high school actually we did like little pay it forward tournaments, which they would pair seniors with like an eighth grader or a ninth grader, somebody younger that was on the team. And
sure.
he actually, out of all the kids on the Hayden High School team, he finished first as a seventh grader.
There you
Little
go.
old Justin looked completely different
Oh
than
yeah,
all of us. So
that's right. That's right. I think that was probably about the time I met you. That's
I
probably.
remember that time.
What grade are you in now?
I'm a sophomore.
Okay, that would have been, yeah, it was about 4 years ago, so it been about right. So right on. Taylor says she's beat Justin too, so
Yes. She gets, I feel like she gets lucky sometimes, but she's a really good person, and she's a really good angler, too.
there you go, a really good person. Right on.
oh, Lord,
It's getting deep in here, boys. So
got a crush.
what's that?
Oh, no.
I think somebody's got a crush over here.
So if you guys, you guys fish a lot of different lakes with that high school stuff, and that's really one of the cool things that, I got a couple of buddies up here that fish it, and they're, talking about going to Toledo Bend and, going down to Guntersville from up here, and, different things like that. What's been the most fun lake that you've fished outside of your home, area, whether that be South Carolina or Alabama?
I don't know. Dardanelle's definitely a fun one. Going to Dardanelle, that one's over in Arkansas, and
Yep.
it's a fun one just because it kind of fits my style, fishing a jig, shallow water, pads, stuff like that. Kentucky Lake, that's a fun one because I love the ledge fish too. I don't really know. My favorite lake right now, I couldn't tell you. I mean, also with high school traveling, I mean, I'd probably have to say Kentucky Lake just because the fishing there is so good.
Sure.
Florida was fun, which I just learned it this year. But I probably Kentucky Lake or Dardanelle for sure.
Gotcha. What about you, Justin?
I'd have to say I haven't traveled many lakes, but I had to say Kentucky for sure. It's just a fun fishery, and one year it can be up shallow, and one year it can be out deep. So
Okay, well, Scott Ashley over there just did remind me of Lake Eufaula, which got to give a shout out to Pop's Guide Service. He'll know what that means. But we did win a high school tournament at Eufaula, me and my partner Taylor.
There you
And
go.
we had 23 pounds, and it was one of those days where just nothing could go wrong. We broke a reel. It actually fell off the rod, and Taylor fought the fish, and I grabbed the braid and hand lined it in. That was definitely a fun one. I do like Eufaula, but me and Eufaula kind of have a rough patch,
Yeah,
I guess. So I've done good there, and then I've done bad. So
I hear you. Steven Decent says, what about Chick?
well, me and Chick have a love-hate relationship too. Caught my biggest bag there. I caught a 30-pound bag there on a rattle trap.
I'll be dang.
And I had a collegiate tournament there, and that was when I went to Bryan College in Dayton, Tennessee, and I zeroed. So, and I lived there for like a year. So, it's the Tennessee River though. Just about all the Tennessee lakes, other than Pickwick, which that's another one. I do love Pickwick. I can go to Pickwick just about any time of the year and catch fish. So, but it's the Tennessee River. You can catch them one day, literally go out the next, and you can zero. So, it's a love-hate relationship.
Yep, I hear you. Well, what's that one lake that you hope to travel to pretty soon? Maybe outside of the area again, something you got on your bucket list.
Lake Erie for sure. Which we're going to St. Clair this year on the FLW Tour.
Yeah.
But I love smallmouth. Smallmouth is probably my favorite species to catch. It kind of drives me crazy up here because there's only a few smallmouth lakes, but Lake Erie for sure. Just getting out there, drop shotting.
Oh, now you're going drop shotting?
Well, I mean, what else are you supposed to throw at Lake Erie?
How you gonna do that while you're going like this?
I can sit still when it comes to catching fish.
I hear you.
I get.
I'm
catching them. Actually, running around the boat, dancing like a chicken with my head cut off.
Yeah.
I get excited.
Yeah. What about you, Justin?
Man, that's hard. There's a lot of lakes I want to go to, but probably my biggest one is we were actually going to travel to it this year, and it got canceled. I always want to go to Toledo Bend.
Yeah. Cool. Jeff Clark wants to know, did you learn anything fishing out of the back of the boat at Okeechobee?
I learned how to net a fish because I had not done that in so long. So I learned how to net a fish.
What do you mean by that? You don't use a net normally?
No, I like slinging them in the boat.
Yeah.
I like slinging them in the boat, which has cost me a few tournaments. My dad used to get on to me a lot because I always windmill fish. There's been several of them that have went over my head, of course, because I'm so amped up. I'll just throw them over the side of the other boat. But I mean, so of course I love throwing a swim jig, Coosa River style, which y'all probably heard about that from Micah Easterling.
Yeah.
I've never really swam a jig with like a skinny dipper or a Big Easy or something like that on the back. So not hopping a rod while I'm swimming.
Right.
It definitely it took me a minute because I was on to hop it and it just didn't look right. I mean, you just throw it out there and reel it in. So I learned how to swim a jig, I guess, the way it's got its name, I guess. I don't know.
So what? Well, hang on. Let me back you up. So why do you think that works there as opposed to doing the Coosa River Shake, as Micah so eloquently put it?
Well, see, Taylor Ashley last year and the Costas won at Okeechobee doing the Coosa River.
Oh, is that
Coosa
right?
River.
I didn't realize he was doing that. Yeah,
pretty sure. I mean, some of his fish like that, which that's who taught. He's a swim jig master.
Sure.
Of course. I guess just keeping the bait and lower in the water column.
Okay.
I mean, lower in the pad stems, keeping it low versus, I mean, when you're fishing it Coosa style, you're keeping it higher in the water column.
Sure.
Not far into the. So, I mean, that's the only thing I could think of because those fish were definitely staging up on those pad stems, getting ready to bed.
Yeah.
So,
I was watching that FLW live, and it was crazy. They kept talking about how, the guys would try to get them down a lot deeper, getting whatever they were throwing, the swim jig or a scatter bait or whatever it was, just getting it down deeper in some of them holes. So,
telling you, man, that was just crazy. that lake, it's still to this. I mean, I go to sleep and I have nightmares because there's so much. I lost day 2. I did lose a couple big fish. My day 1 boater was a little bit more lenient. He gave me a little bit more water to fish, which I probably because me and him were good friends, of course, Justin. But my day 2 boater, I didn't know him that well. He would power pole down and 180 the boat, so I was fishing a lot of trolling motor wash the whole day. Which I mean, that's the name of the game. He's fishing for $100,000. I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
So finally, I tied on a little heavier weight with a swim bait, and I just started slinging that thing over mud mats and bushes and whatnot, trying to fish some clean water. And I hooked up with a few that I wish I could have got to the boat, but they didn't make it to the boat because that grass and stuff's just so thick.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, give us a tip for a co-angler as far as just in general that you want, something you maybe didn't think about that you learned, not necessarily a technique, but just kind of a tip for just fishing out of the back of the boat behind a guy like that.
I mean, pay attention to what they're doing, of course. If they miss something, don't take your eye off of it. When it comes to fishing lakes like Okeechobee and stuff, where it's really, you're looking for that little hole in the pads or that little hole in the grass. Pay attention. Same thing if you're skipping docks. Pay attention. If they don't fish that dock all the way, every point, every post, pay attention. Don't take your eye off of it and hit it because that's clean water. You're not going to get, as a co-angler on the FLW Tour, you're not going to get a lot of clean water to fish. So pay attention to what your anglers miss while you're paying attention to, what you're doing, because I did miss some fish like that too. I'm up looking, seeing what they've missed. Next thing I know, they're like, dude, you gonna set the hook on that fish? And I look out, and one's done blowed up on my swim jig or something like that. But pay attention to what they've missed. Don't be afraid to downsize. Because they're throwing the baits. They're going for $100,000. They're swinging for a home run.
Sure. So
downsize your baits. I did size down to a baby D-bomb versus the big D-bomb. Cincos, shaky heads, which that's really not going to be a factor come, being at Okeechobee and the Harris chain. But some of the other lakes, when we go to Smith Lake and stuff like that, don't be afraid to throw them. Sure. Don't be afraid to throw small baits. A limit will take you a long ways in these tournaments.
Oh, yeah. That's
definitely. Sure. So pay attention, be very lethargic with your cast, and don't be afraid to downsize.
Gotcha. What about you, Justin? You got to fish any co-angling stuff besides just fishing buddy tournaments, team tournaments, whatever?
I haven't been out and fishing big tournaments. I normally, the tournaments I do fish, I'm either with my dad or with a buddy, so I'm pretty much running the boat or either I'm behind them. But like Chase said, you just got to watch what they do, and what they don't hit, you got to hit.
Yep. Another big thing is if they're fishing topwater, don't fish behind them with a topwater because they're not going to miss a lot. Throw something different in the water column. Yep. Don't do the same thing they do.
That being said, if they're absolutely wrecking them, then you could do that. I would think, in my experience, anyway.
Yeah, well, the deal is too. That there's a new rule they come up with this year that if there's something specific that they're fishing, saying it's a 10-yard cattail stretch or buggy whips as they call them down there, or they're fishing a dock, if they nose up to it, you cannot cast to that till they pass it completely. They kind of had it written in the rules, but they made changes where, you're not even allowed to cast in that area. You cannot cast in that area whatsoever. You have to fish something else. So,
gotcha.
If they're schooling up front and he's whacking them, I still can't cast up
Sure.
there.
I'm with you. I just kind of meant, if you're out fishing and kind of there's plenty of room to fish, because I've heard that a lot, and people say don't do exactly what they're doing, but I think there is a little caveat there, just because if there are fish that are getting missed, they ain't gonna catch every single one of them. Period. A lot of times, especially if they're around a lot of fish. But if they're just catching a limit or maybe a few over their limit each day, then yeah, that's probably not a good idea, for sure. So good stuff. So heading to the Harris chain next. Have you been there yet?
Yes, I've been there and practiced twice.
What are you looking at? Tell us a little bit. Don't get crazy, but what do you think that lake's gonna fish like?
You're gonna have a lot of guys sight fishing, of course. there's a lot of fish moving up after that bad cold front we had that knocked them all out. So there's a lot of fish moving up. So, and plus it's in Florida. There's going to be sight fishing will definitely play a key. I don't know if y'all watched the FLW Tour there last year, but the offshore hydrilla, that's going to be another big key. Rattle trap, stuff like that on the offshore hydrilla. So bed fishing, offshore hydrilla, flipping the Kissimmee grass, that's going to be another big deal if you can find areas where they're at there. I mean, shoot, I've only fished 2 lakes, and I know there's like 8 of them. You got like Dora, Little Harris, Big Harris. I've only been on Big Harris and Dora, so
Yeah.
if I was going there tomorrow, I would probably either be sight fishing or looking for that offshore hydrilla.
Gotcha. You fishing BFLs again this year?
I'm going to fish as many as I can.
Yeah.
Which hopefully, I mean, the South Carolina, or actually I think it's the Savannah River Division. I would love to fish that one again. I love Clark's Hill. The North Carolina Division, if they come to Wiley again, I'll definitely be fishing those. And I'm hoping, if I can win a little bit more money this year, fish the Northern Opens as a boater. The Costa Opens as a boater.
Gotcha.
We just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah. I hear you.
Just got a so that's taking a lot of my money on every month.
What's that?
I said I just got a new boat, so it's taking a lot of money.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Gotta
But
be careful.
may as well go use it, right?
Definitely. I didn't know I was fishing the tour as a co-angler till a couple months ago. So I dang up my boat and I was done planning on fishing the Costas as a boater. And then I decided I would fish the tour as a co-angler, so it's basically just sitting around collecting dust.
Yeah, I hear you. Let's see. Sorry. Had a question here. Micah says, how do you fish that offshore hydrilla you were talking about?
I know a big bait that in Florida is the speed worm. So fishing a speed worm through it, which is just throwing out there, let it fall to the bottom, reel it back in, staying in contact with the bottom, ripping it out of that grass. Scatter bait is a good one. Letting it fall down in that hydrilla and ripping it out. And a rattle trap. It's kind of the same deal, at Chickamauga. In the green hydrilla. Just any kind of reaction bait, ripping it through it. That's the key, I guess.
Gotcha. Good deal. Kevin Franklin says he'll break your boat in for you if you want.
Come hook up to it and take it.
Take the payments too, right?
Yeah. He wants to have it, he can take the payments.
That's right. Guys, feel free to jump in here and ask some questions if you guys have any for sure. Chris Robert says, what kind of boat do you run and why?
I run a Phoenix, and now this is my opinion, but it's hands down the best boat on the market, in my opinion. That is my opinion. Runs good. It's really fast. It also has an amazing rod.
I think you got a shark back there.
I don't quite know what's going on back there, but
Shark
it's a
in
great
the
ride.
water.
Been in one since like 2011. Drew Sanford, actually, we bought his Phoenix from him, and then
Yep.
ever since then, I run a Mercury just because, it's the fastest motor on the market, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Don't have a lot out of it, but yeah, I love my Phoenix.
Good
You can
deal.
never take me out.
You got it wrapped up pink again or no?
I'm kind of keeping that quiet. I don't know what the wrap's going to be this year. I will say that it is black and red and white.
Okay.
So wrap will be it will resemble that. I don't necessarily know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
But I do know that I named this one, so kind of a joke that's been going on. All the Phoenixes I get, I name them. And Pinky, of course, was Pinky, the one that was wrapped in the Freedom Marine wrap. And this one, I named it Fergie. Just because when I first saw it, I was listening to Fergalicious, so it kind of got Fergie.
All right. I hear you. Well, what's the tournament you're most looking forward to on that FLW schedule this year?
Smith Lake.
Smith Lake. Going back
Smith
home.
Lake. The old home lake, that's the lake I grew up on. That's where I really started fishing a lot at a lake, so
Yeah.
looking forward to that one. I'm going to feel sorry for my boater, that's for sure.
Yeah. What do you get? When is that tournament?
Oh,
Roughly.
I think May. It's the 5th one, which we had Okeechobee, Harris Chain. Then we're going to Lanier, Cumberland, and Smith. So
Okay.
I think beginning of May. I'm pretty sure.
Right on. Right on. What's going to be going on there? Are they getting done spawning?
Shoot, I couldn't tell you. I ain't been there in so long, but I'm hoping they'll be coming off the beds and you can go call them up with a big gunfish or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to be in the back of the boat, so I'm going to be getting the net a lot. But
Yeah.
hopefully I can get an opportunity at a big one or two. Which that's also a lake. I mean, you're going to be around something that you can catch fish around. I mean, whether he's out calling fish up on a point, I'll be close to points. I'll be in casting distance of something that's going to have a fish around it.
Sure. For sure. Danny Parker.
Thank you, buddy.
What's that?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, buddy.
I said the part is I just can't tell them where to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to be like, dude, I know where they're at. We just need to go.
Yeah. I hear you. Danny Parker wants to know what's your favorite creek on Smith?
Crooked Creek for sure.
Right on.
I mean, you got the Rock Creek, White Oak, Crooked. Pigeon Roost is another fun one.
Is that your dad back there with that shark?
I don't know. I don't know if it's dad. I don't know who it is. He's back there.
Goofing off for sure. Making fun of you. Micah says he needs them bluebacks in Lake Tuscaloosa. They'd sure help.
Man, I'm telling you, I'd be perfectly fine without them. I don't like having to go out and chase them. I guess it's something I've had to adapt to, but I got to get used to it now with living here.
Yep. What's going on?
Going on?
How are you?
Man, that taught me just about everything I know.
There you go. What do you know?
I don't know it.
You been fishing?
Talking fishing. So he wanted to come see what they're talking about. I got to learn these tricks and trade. They're getting better than me.
I hear you. You been fishing much?
Not much at all. We finished up the fall season of the high school trail, so we're getting ready to kick off the spring session. So just high school fishing right now.
Yeah. What do you want to tell everybody about high school fishing? I know you're kind of real deep into it, and I know you've been a big integral part of, Hayden, and then now I can't think of what you just called this. What's the school you're at now?
York County High School English.
York County, yeah. So talk to us a little bit about that and how that all is going, and what people maybe don't know or don't understand about it that you can enlighten us on a little bit.
Talking about high school fishing, that's a question that still gets asked to me about every day. Hey, how do I join? What do I do to sign up? Giving a little history, this will make my 10th season as a coach. Yep. I know Scott Ashley is online right now. Me and him started the team back in Hayden. It was 10 years ago, Scott, so yeah, we're telling our age here. But high school fishing, I started it with these guys because these guys, I was talking to Darian Craig today, and Chase and Taylor and Calvert. Those are some names that are all industry names now. Of course, Taylor being on the tour, Darian working for TH Marine, Dirty Jigs, Onyx. Just watching these guys grow up. I mean, it started with a couple of kids that had a passion for fishing. We seen an opportunity, and then it just expanded beyond that to what it is in Alabama now. And I had the opportunity to watch that growth. Some odd, you'll show up to a tournament and there's 350 boats on Gunnersville High School. That's 700 kids.
Yep.
Now I'm up here in South Carolina, and everybody said, well, they're a little bit behind, but we're really not. We've got 300 teams up here. There's 600 kids in South Carolina. That's pretty stout. You show up at a tournament. It started out as an opportunity. Schools have baseball programs, basketball programs, football programs, but, having an opportunity to have fishing and offer something a little bit different. Not everybody plays sports. So that's the reason we all started this, and it's been something that's been close to me, and I've made sure I carried the legacy. The question that always gets asked when this one here to my right graduates, what am I going to do? I think I'll coach probably for a little bit longer. I'm not ready to give it up. I enjoy the opportunity of sharing a passion that we all have. You have it.
Oh, yeah.
Amen.
Yep, absolutely. Talk to us a little bit about one of the things I think is a little bit misguided in the whole high school thing is sponsorships. I speak to a lot of different high schools and stuff like that, and I ask them all the time, what's a sponsorship to you? And I know you guys treat it really have a good understanding of it there at Hayden, and now obviously still. So tell us what that and what you guys kind of instill into your boys and girls and stuff that you guys coach as far as how sponsorships work and what they really mean for these kids.
I seen an article this week. I seen actually a FaceTime video with Fat Cat Newton, and I took what he said, and it's something I've been saying. Sponsorships are two-way streets. It's not so much what you can do for me as you, Jack Bates. It's what can I do for you?
Sure.
So many get that misconstrued, and so many are also looking, I got to get sponsors. I told my kids when they first started fishing, I had several sponsors at that time, and they said, hey, I can get this. I said, no, you're not going to get that. You're going to work for it. And what does that mean? What does working for it mean? It means promoting and being brand loyal. And I think that's where the misconception has gotten. If you look at a Hayden jersey and you look at a York County jersey, we don't have competition sponsors. I'm not going to go out and tell JaKKed, hey, I want your rods. And then I'm going to run over here to, let's just say, Arc Rods and say, hey, will you sponsor me as well?
Right.
That's just not good for the brand. And I think the one thing we can teach these kids is brand loyalty and what that means, and get the misconception that what can we do for you? What can I do? And that all boils down to that jersey that you're wearing, and you look at those sponsors that are putting their name, and that's something me and Scott taught at Hayden and I teach here. You represent each and every one of those companies, not also on the water, but off the water as well.
Yep.
People take notice, and people, you don't want to be judged. And I try to teach these kids what that means to have a guy or a lady put their name on your jersey and give you product or give you some type of monetary donation, what that means. And you should thank them. Not only with social media, with this is, the day we're living in. When I first was fishing, there wasn't all this social media and videos, but that's where we're headed. So definitely think that the brand loyal is the one thing I can say, and what it means to be. Me and Scott had a lot of the same sponsors when we were in Hayden. When I moved to York County, it was a totally different state. They followed me here, and that was the thing. I stayed loyal to them, still got them to this day. And, you got to remember the person that got you to the dance.
Sure. Got to dance with the one that brought you, huh?
That's correct. So
that's a good lesson, boys. Dance with the one that brought you. That goes for all things, including the real dance and, this deal as well. So, no, I really appreciate you dropping in. And, guys, I really appreciate your time tonight. It's really I value your opinion, Chris, on the high school stuff and, everything that has to do with that, just because you guys have been so instrumental in a lot of that went on down there. And, I know Drew's talked to me a lot about, you guys and all that good stuff. So I really appreciate you guys doing that. And it's something that's really close to us here at JaKKed. And, we try to do as much and as widespread as we can for as many different people as we can. And if nothing else, just, give them advice and help them out. I get asked that same question all the time. How do I get started into the fishing, high school fishing? I got my boy that wants to get started in it at these shows. Happens all the time. And, I try to direct them to you guys or, some of the ones that are up here locally and whatnot. And, hopefully they're reaching out to you and getting a good start that way. So, but
I get a lot of calls from across the country. I've had Randy Howe tell people about our program all the way up in New York. I've had phone calls from Missouri, Tennessee. It is an honor. Me and Scott have been close to this, like I said, 10 years now, and watched a lot of things grow. Definitely appreciate people like yourself. And that is the number one question. I probably get asked from boat shows to, of course, the Classic and all the events we work and at the events. How do I get a sponsor? That's the number one question.
You go fishing. But go ahead. Sorry.
You got to tell them, go fishing.
That's right.
You got to go fishing first. And I think if a lot of people would put a rod down and prove their worth that way, they'd see a lot of different outcome.
Yep. That's right.
So,
That's right. Well,
and Scott and everybody like Justin this weekend, he worked the boat show. You got to go work. I
yep.
mean, I get up every day. I don't get to fish for a living. I fish for a passion, but I get up and go to work every day.
Yep.
To enjoy what I do.
That's right. That's right. It's no different, and that's one thing that I see, you know, and it's kind of a fault of some of us companies too. I mean, you know, some of the companies, and it's great that they're, you know, just donating as much as they can and whatnot, whether it be money or product and whatnot. But at the same time, they kind of need to, we need to, you know, hold the students to that standard and let them know what we expect. And that's something that we try to do, and, you know, making sure that they understand that part of it, because if you're just throwing money and, you know, product at them and they're never doing anything for it, what does that tell them? That just tells them that'll keep happening, but it won't. And you guys know that as soon as you get out, you know, you Chase for sure. I mean, going after sponsors yourself, you know how much time it takes and the work you got to put into it for sure. So
Definitely. I mean, especially coming out of high school and coming out of college, it can be very, I mean, it can put you down just because, I mean, you know, it's all about building your name first. And like he said, letting the fishing do the talking, more or less. I mean, because when you come out of high school and college, I mean, not unless you've done something, not a lot of people know about you.
sure.
So just getting out of the water and being patient and letting the fishing do the talking, then everything will fall in place after that.
Yep. You got any tips social media wise for anybody listening out there?
I mean, just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to share any. I mean, always try to stay proactive when it comes to social media, because social media is now one of the biggest ways to promote. So just not, I mean, it's as simple as posting a picture and tagging the people that sponsor you. Just showing them that, hey, you know, I really don't know how to explain it. Just always don't be afraid to use something as simple as a picture to promote.
Sure.
It's as easy.
Yeah. And like I always tell everybody on our team, and, you know, we try to grow our team outside of just the JaKKed brand. But, you know, if you don't do it, you're never going to do it. And the more.
And don't be cheesy about it, too. That's
Sure.
Don't always be like, you know, this bait, this bait, this bait, this bait. Just don't. That'll get annoying.
Yep.
So.
One tip on social media,
Yes,
and I've
sir.
told all my, don't be fake. And remember, when you post something, you can't take it back.
That's right. Somebody's seen it already. Even if you go try to delete it, somebody's screenshotted it or something.
And it will always come back to haunt you.
That's right.
So be who you are. It'll always show through.
That's right.
Listen, I'm going to let these two finish up. Thank you for what you do for these guys.
Hey, buddy. Good to see you. Take it easy. Thank you. But yeah, no, that's definitely something that we always talk about, is that, you know, if you're out there, just do it. You know, anytime you're out there fishing, just post a picture and get out there and do it. And, you know, the more you do it, the more you're going to do it. And that sounds stupid, but I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. It's just like riding your bike or tying your shoes. The more you do it, the more you're going to be able to do it. So,
I mean, you got as far as Snapchat and stories that are only 24 hours.
Yep.
So it ain't even got to be a post that's out there forever.
Yep.
Just tagging your sponsors in a 24-hour post.
Yep.
So.
For sure. Well, guys, you got anything else for me?
I hear crickets.
No. Oh, I was asking you.
Oh, wait, me?
Yeah, you. You got anything else for me?
Shoot, I don't know. How much does everybody think we need to have like some kind of competition or giveaway or something for the, like, guess my weight in the next upcoming event?
All right. You want to do that for you on yours?
Yeah, or
Okay.
something like that. It don't matter the way. Just guessing some weights or something like that.
We'll do it.
Let's make it fun for me this season at least. I mean, 87th, that kind of hurts. So
yeah.
Something if I another bad finish, let's
What's next one? You're gonna get beat, buddy.
Get beat.
Oh, you're going to Hartwell.
Oh yeah, we do have a little family competition going on this weekend coming up. We're gonna be
I'll take
Dad,
one. I'll take $1.
Dad and Justin against me and my buddy Philip. So
there you go. There you go.
Dude, guess who wins?
Guess who wins?
I mean, it's just it's been a fun year so far, and I'm looking forward to how the rest of the season goes. Hopefully, I can. I'm shooting for a top 10 in the FLW Tour, so that way I qualify for the Tour next year. If I qualify for the Tour, I'm definitely going to take that opportunity. Whether I come out, and I mean, win, lose, or draw, this year has definitely been a great learning experience. I can tell anybody looking forward to wanting to be a professional angler, it's definitely smart to. I mean, the FLW being a co-angler, that's a privilege. You get to sit in the back of the boat with guys that have been doing it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I mean,
Yep.
some longer than that. Those are just sit back, take your time, and learn, and don't jump right into it. Don't jump right into it. And the BFLs, always start and work your way to it. And like I said, win, lose, or draw, I got something out of it this year. Hopefully next year I'll be fishing the Tour. That's the ultimate goal. But, I mean, we also might hit a wall sometime, so I'm just keeping an open mind going in, like I said, keeping an open mind, and hopefully it all pays out.
That's right, boys. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate your time, Justin, Chase Kanute. Follow them on Facebook. They both got a fishing page, I believe. We'll get them on there and go follow them this season. And look out for them. They're coming.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
take it easy, guys. And remember, don't just hook them, jack them. See ya.
Yeah. See you, man.